Valentine.
Valentine.
It's a goddamn zombie tiger. That's correct.
We are talking about Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, which of course stars one-time wrestler Dave Bautista. Now, Zack Snyder really became into the kind of the public consciousness, not with the kind of the DC Justice League movies, but with actually the remake of the Dawn of the Dead movie. A film that I really enjoyed, and this was arguably one of the films that introduced the concept of fast zombies. And at the time, that was all kind of like, you know, people were kind of up in arms about it. Oh, we don't like things changing in our zombie genre, things like that. But ultimately, I think the concept of fast zombies certainly makes them more dangerous. And Zack Snyder's gone further this time with his kind of like his second kind of zombie movie, Army of the Dead. I'm sure most of you know the plot now, but to give you a brief synopsis, it's essentially like a Dirty Dozen meets Escape from New York, but with zombies. So we have Las Vegas has become like an epicenter of zombie activity. It's walled off with kind of storage containers, and essentially the idea being that it's going to get nuked within a kind of a short time. But a group of mercenaries are hired to go into this zombie city now to try and recover a bunch of money, led by Dave Bautista. As they do there, we learn that their things may well not be quite as they seem. The zombies seem to have evolved to become more ghouls than zombies, I'd argue, but and kind of intelligent. And then there may well be some underhanded tactics going on as well. What will happen? You have to watch the movie to find out. So let's talk about what works. So obviously this is a higher budget kind of zombie movie, and as such we get a lot kind of bigger scale. I believe the budget was around 100 million for this. So we do see certainly lots of VFX on display here. You know, lots of kind of wide shots with kind of destroyed vistas and things like that. So you do get a definite sense of scale, more so than you would do with the kind of the more traditional kind of independent zombie films that we kind of come out, and obviously lower budget ones that can't afford to do all these kind of large set pieces. I mean, the last time we had something like this was probably World War Z, which is probably a comparable movie in some ways. I think we have quite a likeable cast of characters, all who seem quite kind of unique, and some of the characters we don't know all that well, but nonetheless I think they pretty much all make a pretty good impression for the most part. Maybe a couple of ones don't, but even some of those kind of the characters that end up not lasting a huge amount of time, I think were quite fun. Because this is a Netflix movie rather than kind of one which was made to go to the cinema, I think this has allowed Snyder to be a bit more experimental and kind of maybe a bit more gory than he would have been had it been a cinema release. And we do see some gore. Admittedly, it's very CGI heavy. There are practical effects, but there's also a lot of CGI kind of enhancements here. And, you know, I think people who, certainly the more traditional horror crowd, I think will be a bit more discerning about this. But, you know, there's lots of kind of like destruction on display. Of course, we have the zombie tiger, which is always quite fun, and there are some interesting things done with these zombies, and we actually have zombie characters rather than kind of you know, you can, maybe that's not always such a good thing because this is definitely maybe not a film for zombie purists, but nevertheless it's interesting to have kind of like alpha zombies as they're known in the movie, which kind of gives them a bit more personality to a certain degree. Even though this is a long movie, I still say it's pretty fast paced and there's kind of lots kind of going on. And, you know, Zack Snyder, I think, has a certain directorial style which makes it very visually appealing. This is certainly a very surface level movie where it's kind of like, you know, lots of exciting stuff happening on screen, shot in a very dynamic way. And it's, you know, I kind of compare Snyder to Michael Bay in some ways. I think they have a similar kind of bombastic sort of style. Maybe Snyder's a little bit more restrained than Michael Bay, but both of them have this kind of like this, put it all out on screen, lots of kind of action, lots of slow-mo, that kind of stuff, and, you know, it's a fun film to watch. What doesn't work for me, I think Dave Bautista, to be honest with you, I don't know if he's a leading man, if I'm honest. I got to be honest with you, I actually felt his main character was one of the weakest ones, and you know, I never really felt he also got a particularly good action scene. We have this kind of king zombie, and there is an altercation, but to be honest with you, it's shot in such close quarters. I never really felt like it was all that dramatic, to be honest with you. I would have liked to have seen, you know, a better shot kind of fight with that. There's plenty of things here that didn't make sense to me, and things that simply aren't kind of addressed. Like, we don't know the original zombie, who is the king zombie. We don't know, you know, the circumstances of you know, his kind of his origin. We just know it's something to do with the army. Apparently Snyder's gone on and said that it's like something to do with aliens, but it's not in the movie. So, you know, there's things introduced here like cyborg zombies, and we kind of see glimpses of them. It seems that this movie is setting up world building and kind of elements that can be introduced kind of a little bit later on. But for this film, it kind of just looks a little, you know, if you're watching it in a vacuum, it seems a little bit kind of not explained well enough, if that makes sense. Some plot points here didn't really make a lot of sense. We have this woman who leaves her kids in this like migrant zone, or kind of like a refugee zone, which is around Las Vegas. I mean, why they're refugees there anyway, I don't know. But then this mother leaves her kids to go into the zombie city. Why? It's never really, I didn't think it was a good enough, you know, that wasn't really explained why she did that. They have to hire someone to take them into the zombie city when it's basically going for a bunch of crates. It's just like, well, why do you need someone, you know? So to me, this movie was a lot of kind of action on screen, and, you know, things kind of going on, and visually is very good. But I think the plot could have been a bit more, you know, a bit more kind of like streamlined. It's a bit longer than it needs to be. I feel there was things here that were introduced that didn't need to be, and there was some stuff that could have just been cut out. It's a fun film. I certainly will say that. I would certainly say it's entertaining. I think Bautista works better as a supporting character rather than the lead. And this movie does borrow very liberally from other properties, as I've mentioned. Dirty Dozen, you know, Escape from New York, things like this. Other kind of movies, Aliens. We've seen set pieces that are in this movie that are very similar to other films. And then finally, I think it's just kind of like an okay film. You know, I think it's an enjoyable film. It's certainly watchable, but I don't know if it kind of breaks the mold. I think, as I say, it's moving very much away. I mean, I don't know if you can call these zombies anymore, is the other thing. I mean, are they zombies when they are, you know, doing, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's so many things here that these characters do, these quote-unquote zombies do, that you can't really call it a zombie film, I don't think. But I would say it's an above average watch, you know, just for the production value. There's lots of action kind of going on. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.